Alright folks, welcome back to Fraction Lesson 4. I didn't do one of these reviews for Fraction Lesson 3 because it was pretty much just a review video. So Fraction Lesson 4 is really where we're getting into the important stuff in terms of adding and subtracting fractions. So trying a different setup with me down here in the bottom corner. Hello. I don't know if it helps or not, but we'll go with it. So equivalent fractions, which is what Fraction Lesson 4 is about, is actually a review from our earlier fraction unit that we did earlier in the year. So hopefully this feels familiar in some way. So equivalent fractions are just different ways to write the same fraction. So this is a really typical example we talked about a lot, where 1/2 is the same thing as 2/4, which is the same thing as 4/8. And we can create equivalent fractions by multiplying the top or the bottom and the bottom by the same number to go this way. So 1 times 2 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, 1 times 4 is 4, 2 times 4 is 8. Or to simplify and go the other way, you would divide the top and bottom by the same number. So 4 divided by 2 is 2, 2 divided by 2 is 1. So as long as you can do that trick, multiply or divide the top and bottom by the same number, you have an equivalent fraction. Remember the key is there's no decimals in fractions ever. So I wanted to just sort of bring the visual to you in terms of fraction strips. We have used fraction strips before. Hopefully they're familiar. If you prefer hands-on and not this computer version, there's lots. Just Google fraction strips and you can print them out and cut them out at your house and have them right there in order to build different fractions. But I'm just going to drag us over here. So what I asked you to do is just model different fractions of a half. So there's 1/2 right there. And then if you had sort of just trialed and errored it, you would notice that thirds don't work. 1/3 is not enough. 2/3 is too big. So there's no equivalent fraction in terms of thirds. Alright, but quarters do work. There's 2/4. Let's try fifths. So 1/5 is not enough, 2/5 is not enough, 3/5 are too big, so that doesn't work. Let's try 6. Let's get rid of fifths. Hope that noise isn't too annoying. So then 6, 2 6, 3 6. Oh, worked perfectly. And then they give you 8s, and you can do it with 8s. They also fit perfectly in there. So this is just the visual reminder of how equivalent fractions work. And this website actually has a lot of different fraction manipulatives if you sort of wanted to come back here to kind of have a refresher at any point. Alright? So, with that said, let's go back to our lesson. I'll drag us back over here. Alright. So, that's what I wanted you to do, and hopefully you screenshotted the example and put it in here. So then I gave you some videos to watch. They were all basically on the same thing, showing you different methods. I hope you paused, took your time. And then we had a Kahoot. It's sort of fun to have a Kahoot even though we all aren't in the same room. So again, just remembering those equivalent fractions in a Kahoot, where you could use it as a review and a quick check to see how you did. So hopefully you did pretty well out of the 14 questions. Khan Academy, I then gave you 2 assignments to do. Hopefully those all went fairly smoothly. And that was what you had to do for here. This is what I wanted to talk to you really quickly. This is an awesome thing I just stumbled upon. I've never seen it before until this year. So if you're struggling, and especially when we get into the later stuff in this unit, this is a really nice little tool to help you out. So you just type in any fraction you want. And some of the weird ones are often like sevenths. We often forget our sevenths. And then you hit the word calculate, and it gives you every single equivalent fraction to pretty much up to, what, 7/100ths for that fraction. So this is an awesome tool to come back to. So if you're struggling with your equivalent fractions, have this window open right on your computer, and if you're asked to find an equivalent fraction for 4/11ths, you suddenly have them all listed out there for you. So use this, okay? yes, it's important that you know how we got them, and they get them just by doubling it or adding 4/11ths every time, essentially. So there's 4/11ths, and there's 8/22 every single time. But this is super helpful, so come back to this. Alright, and then your reflection, and then some practice games. These are always good just to sort of drive the point home. Okay, so hopefully equivalent fractions are familiar to you. If you're having problems with the equivalent fractions, let me know. Really sort of get comfortable with using this website here. That would help you find those equivalent fractions. Always keeping in mind that it's just a visual model here, where it's all just different ways of saying the same thing. 2/3 is the same thing as 4/6, which is the same thing as 8/12. They all mean the same thing. Alright, hope that helped you out. Okay.